Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia J, and I'm here with Erica L. Ayala. Hey, Erica.
Hey.
And listen, we just watched a WNBA Finals Game 2. And unfortunately for Phoenix, the dismantling of Phoenix, 91-78. We're so glad to be here talking with you all about this game today. So make sure that you get your comments in as well and subscribe, because we want to make sure that we're locked in. I mean, this finals, it's been very interesting. This whole playoff run has been very interesting, and we're here to talk all about it on We Need to Talk Now. So make sure that you're locked in. We're going to have a QR code as well so that you can, it's right here. So go ahead, scan that so you can be connected right away with us. So you'll be here every day when we're talking about these finals games. So Erica, let's get right into it. And again, you guys are in the conversation too. Make sure that you're dropping your comments along the way as we talk about this game. Now, let's just jump right into it. Initial reactions about this 91-78 Aces win.
Well, Phoenix was able to get started early. It's just that they were not able to sustain what they were doing, nor contain what Vegas was looking to do. We saw a lot of back and forth in game one, not so much here, where Vegas was really able to take this. I mean, total 5 lead changes, 4 ties, but again, pales in comparison from what we saw from game one. I think that, in a game where adjustments are key, I've talked throughout CBS Sports on HQ, on the podcast, that defensive changes were going to be huge. And, I think that's what Vegas was able to do to really get a commanding lead and keep a commanding lead in the second game.
Yeah, definitely. And I just also want to note, for some reason, it says that our comments are disabled, and we just want to apologize for that. However, please leave your comments on the YouTube page so that we can respond to those, and we'll make sure in the next live that we have that all sorted out, because we love talking with each and every one of you. But yeah, I watching this game, Erica, it was definitely I would say all of the Aces night, but in particularly, Jackie Young and Asia Wilson, rather, just delivering on every level. But we need to talk about Chelsea Gray. Chelsea Gray she had 10 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. When you look at her as the floor general, somebody who's seeing everything, who puts players in the best positions to be as effective as they are, I think she definitely showed, how important she is out there on the court, and how she makes everybody else just that much better and more effective.
Yeah, it's that last part for me. I had, again, across CBS Sports, been talking about how the Aces have been playing well, and I think that they can compete well with this Phoenix squad. And in order for the Aces to get another title, they're going to have to get the kinds of caliber game that we've been seeing from Chelsea Gray as of late. We were a little concerned. She was one of the players that maybe tweaked something, for both teams in game one, everyone really putting it all out there. But Gray has been phenomenal. And when she's locked in, you also see that even when she's on the bench, whether she's in the game or not, she's encouraging her teammates. Like, the energy and the excitement that she gets is contagious. And I can only imagine, as a teammate, you're like, I'm gonna run through a brick wall for this human being. As an opponent, you're like, dang, if she's in the zone like that, it's gonna be a tough night. It's gonna be a tough night. So I think it's been really great for for Vegas to get that version of Chelsea Gray.
Yeah, and we've been saying this all playoff long, but I just feel like the players and the team they're just locking in the way that we know that they can play at the exact right time. And it's really hard to beat the Aces when you have Asia and Jackie Young. I think they combined for 60 points or something like that. And so when you look at just the 78 that Phoenix scored, it's like, how do you beat a team when only 2 players are almost have the majority of the points that they have? So it's just it's hard. I know from the outside looking in, Phoenix just looked a little discombobulated, if that's the word we want to use. That's probably too many syllables, but they looked a little. They looked like they had. Maybe they were tired. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I just didn't see the fight that I would think we would see in Game 2 of the finals.
For sure. And apologies, I got something in my eye over here. I'm gonna work through it though. But yeah, I think you're right. There were times where, and we saw it even in the gameplay towards the end of the game in game one. To me, it just screams a team again that has playoff experience, has finals experience, and have played together versus a team that doesn't. And those are things that you have to handle in the moment. But also, those are the things, excuse me, that create momentum for your opponent if you can't get it together.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see, when they go back to Phoenix, I hope that that gives them a little bit of a spark that they need. Being at home is definitely a game changer when it can be a game changer, I should say. But I don't know, it's so hard because when you just saw this Aces team and the way that they played and the swagger that they came out with and just kind of the Aces that we're used to seeing that championship team running out in a way, it just, it's hard to say that things are going to turn around. I mean, I don't know how many teams, and Emma can fact check on this, but how many teams have come back from being 2 down? I know it's only been a 5-game series up until now. None in a best of 5. So it just doesn't look too good. It doesn't look too good for this Phoenix team.
Yeah, they have a lot of work to do. I know I said I'm not really into, and apologies if in advance if I have to sneeze here, but I am not for saying it's a must-win game. But this is why people say even in a game 2 it's a must-win, because now Phoenix is down 2 games and they have to dig out of that hole. It is a 7-game series, not a 5-game series. So there's that, and they will be going home. So there's a little hope there that this team can figure it out. But it's an uphill climb, especially, and if you are one that believes in momentum, the momentum didn't look great. The energy didn't look great for Phoenix in game 2.
Yeah, it definitely did not. I really want you to get that sneeze out for real because I think it would help. So I'm definitely hoping that happens. But
I'm trying, sis. I'm trying.
Yeah, so, I know you are.
Just, we gonna rock with it. But your girl, she been going through it. But I'm here. Yeah. We got it. We got this.
You are here, and we're happy that you're here, Erica. Since we are here, let's just talk about like the X factor for each team. Man, it's hard to pick with the Aces. Who would you say was the X factor there?
X factor in this game, it's hard to think of her as an X factor sometimes, but I do think that I go back and forth. I think I'm going to say Chelsea Gray. I'm going to say Chelsea Gray just because it almost seems unfair to say Jackie Young also as an X factor. Either one of them. On the one hand, you see what Jackie was able to do as far as scoring. How can you call that an X factor when that is something that we know we can see and we should expect from Jackie Young? I do think it was important, though, for her to have those 32 points. But then you also look again at what we were talking about and how Chelsea Gray was doing it at all ends of the court. And I think that's huge because she can facilitate. And so the 10 points you'll take from a Chelsea Gray, again, if it is in service of 32 points by Jackie Young and 28 points, 82, 28 points by Asia Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, you could go down the line with stats. They had a lot of players that contributed in so many different ways for this win. I would say the X factor is the confidence that the Aces have. They are just, they're not gonna not win. Like that's how it feels. It feels like they're coming into this knowing that they're gonna get the dub from the start. And it's not something that I necessarily feel like I'm seeing from Phoenix. I hope they turn it around just for the sake of the series, if anything, right? I would love to see more of a battle and more of a fight that we thought we were gonna see in this series. But it just seems as though the Aces, at one point who were, I want to say 8th in the standing this season, they have been through it all. They have definitely been, I guess, like battle tested in that way. And so when it comes to this, I mean, I just see that the confidence is the X factor for them. They're coming through and they know exactly what they want to do and they know exactly how they are going to do it and they deliver. And yes, they've been here before. Yes, they have definitely won championships and they know exactly how that feels. And I think now that they've been through everything that they have this season and they're here, they're walking in the gym like there's no way that we're going to lose.
That's what makes this team dangerous. And that's what I felt for this Aces squad since really last season. I just like the way Asia was talking last year. I know I've said it a few times before, but she just was supremely disappointed, I think, that she couldn't figure things out, that she couldn't figure out a way to perform the way she did and to get her teammates going. And you see that she put that work in, including having to send that text message being like, listen, we just dropped a game by 53 points to someone who's going to be a contender. I'm paraphrasing. If y'all ain't ready to show up and get the work done, then don't come to practice. Like, just like, and not trying to be mean, but that's matter of fact. Like, to me, people might take that some kind of way, but in the game, in a profession, I should say, where wins and losses are a part of your success metric, sometimes you got to keep it a buck. And I just have been just so impressed with how Asia Wilson has been able to take on some of the characteristics of some of who she told you, Alicia, right, are her favorite WNBA players, basketball players of all time. I mean, you think of like the Maya Moores, the Sylvia Fowles, like these players that she's either come up against in the WNBA, but more so had experience overlapping with some of them in USA basketball. And I think that's what we're seeing. And the fact that she's, if anything, in her early prime, if
Yes.
even, we are expecting that Asia Wilson will be able to compete at this level for years to come. And that's what makes it super exciting.
And I also love in that same interview that we had, Cynthia Cooper had some amazing words to say about her. And I know she just surpassed like one of her records that she had. And so we're seeing an Asia Wilson who was brought up in a lot of ways by these players. And then now she's exceeding what they set and the expectations that they had. And just becoming literally who I think will be the best WNBA player of all time. I really truly feel that way. Like you said, she's in her prime and we're seeing what we're seeing now. Like, just imagine what we're going to see. She continues to grow. Asia Wilson is a player that continues to grow in numbers, in leadership, in business, in every single way. And so it's really, honestly, an honor to see it and to watch it happen. For sure.
For sure. Yeah, 100%. And this Phoenix team, just to go back to them in game 2 in particular, we talked about it, how they might have felt that they let things slip, right? And things slipped away. I think the Aces played that like they knew that too. They didn't want to leave things to chance, right? So if you look at how this Aces squad was able to run up the score, I think that they were able to take care of the ball for the most part. Points off of turnovers weren't as drastic as the other night, but fast break points were about average. But it was just the relentless in and out points in the paint, also not such a great separation. I think it's just that this was a team where they got more contributions overall. And that's something that Phoenix is going to have to figure out. It doesn't seem to me like Sammy Whitcomb is 100%. She didn't score at all in this game, Alicia. And that's not going to be good for a Phoenix team that really relied on her perimeter shooting, especially to open up and extend defenses so that, some of the other players can work. Satu Sabali took a little while to get going. She did end with 22 points, just 1 point behind Ka Copper, but it took a while to get Satu going.
It did. And when they cleared the bench, right, which Nate Tibbetts should have definitely done, especially for the players and just their bodies, right? I mean, they have a long series ahead of them, and there's been so many injuries, and it's just like when you have that difference in the points, it just the score, I should say, rather, it makes sense. But I did feel like a little spark from the bench players, and it made me wonder, do you switch things up in a game 3 a little bit, or do you have different rotations? Do you do that, or do you just hope that the players that you have been using in the rotations that you've been using them, they have a spark of their own?
I mean, that's the question, right? And I believe it was Jackie Young after the game, she was kind of teed up, or Asia was teed up to talk a little bit about Jackie maybe not showing up in game 1 comparative to game 2. And Jackie kind of, off camera or whatever said, "Oh, I know what it was." And she said something to the effect of, "I call it the 44," which I can only imagine she's talking about the 44 game season, and that there's more games here. She kind of alluded to and talked about fatigue. The reason I bring that up is because it wouldn't be surprising if Phoenix is experiencing a little bit of that as well. This is a team that plays a physical style of basketball, and they're meeting their match. This is an Aces squad that can keep up with them. I have said before that, with a player like Alyssa Thomas, the best way to stop an engine is to go up against another engine. That's how you stop one engine. You get one engine, you go up against another. And I do think that the Aces have the bodies, they have the physical strength to be able to slow AT down. There's times where, she's in the paint and could drive to the basket and thinks twice about it. And that affects and impacts the game that Phoenix is playing here. So to your point about bringing in the bench, I think you have to do it smartly. I think it's not just about managing minutes for some of your starters, but like you said, really getting to that spark, perhaps. But again, that's the biggest question for coaches around this time of year. What is the right balance? And I don't think at this point, especially down 2 games, you have to try something, but when is the right time to maybe go all in? Is it a do or die? Again, I think there's a reality that, of course, no, they're not going to lose the series in the next game. But the other part of that, which is also true, right, Alicia, is that if you're down 0-3, that's a massive hole to try to dig out of. So I'm not sure if you want to wait to experiment, but you have to do it smartly because you still do have time and you need your stars. And so if it's a matter of fatigue, then yes, you want to use your rotation a little different. If it's a matter of they're just not in rhythm, then maybe some of your players just need to play more minutes and play through it. But it can be different per game. It can be different per individual. So that's not an easy task for Phoenix right now.
Well, only time will tell when it comes to this series. And speaking of time, someone who said that she doesn't have any time, and I'm making that up, but someone who says that she does not have any time, she didn't say it just like that, but was Napheesa Collier when it comes to meeting with Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. This is the ongoing conversation that we're having and just kind of looking at what is happening around, number one, the CBA, but also a statement that Napheesa Collier made at her exit interview. Cathy Engelbert responded, and she said in another press conference that Friday that her and Napheesa were to meet next week. So the press conference was on Friday, but she said that they were to meet next week, and that she depicted that the conversations with Collier were filled with inaccuracies. According to ESPN, this was not great, as you can imagine, and that this pretty much pushed the relationship beyond repair. Yes. And so according to one source who said that a league's spokesperson told ESPN that Collier hadn't notified Engelbert of the cancellation yet. And that is right now when this pod is recorded. And so when you make a statement saying that somebody was making inaccuracies and that the conversation was filled with them, I can't imagine you would want to meet with that person. I don't know. Those are just, I know I wouldn't.
I mean, honestly, I can see this from both sides because It's coming off as though, at minimum, Cathy was blindsided by the fact that what she said in a conversation was shared, or maybe shared at that particular time. I mean, at worst, right? From what we're hearing from Cathy Engelbert, at least some of the things she's been very specific, which on the things that she's denied, and has been more.
Vague.
Yes, vague. Thank you. It's been a little more vague on what the inaccuracies exactly are. We're just told that there are some, but they haven't truly been identified as far as I know. So I think it goes both ways. Where does that conversation go? What does either party need, especially if it's kind of a closed door conversation? What is needed in those conversations, and what are you willing to hear and accept? I don't know. I think that it's probably the right move for Cathy Engelbert, especially, to reach out at least to a Napheesa Collier. But if that's Collier having that conversation on her own, not as a part of the Players Association, I don't know. Is that something that Collier even needs to happen? So that's another thing. I mean, we don't know, as far as I know, I should say. I don't know exactly why, this meeting has reportedly been canceled. Maybe it's just because there's not a need for that outside of what already is the CBA conversations. I want to save room, and because there's a world in which that exists. I think there's also a world in which even Napheesa Collier, as an executive of the Players Association, is like, again, with some of what was said, what will this one conversation yield that's going to make this situation better? And maybe just a little time needs to pass. I think there are a few different ways that you can interpret what we're seeing now, and I guess the best thing that we can do is just wait and see what happens here, because the spice is all the way up.
Yeah, the tea is abundant.
Yes.
Okay. We are out here just really monitoring this for sure. But as of right now, as it stands, Napheesa's not meeting with her. And I respect that as well, especially when you have made your statement, you have taken your stance, you have told your truth.
Right.
Right. And for me, who knows exactly why Cathy is saying there was inaccuracies, what she is talking about. Like we said, she's been vague in some parts and not in others. She's been very direct. So we have no idea what she's talking about specifically, but for some reason, Napheesa didn't like it and doesn't want to meet with her. And that's what we do know. and I don't blame her for it, especially you talked about, reaching out to Napheesa, was a good thing. And from what the players have talked about, she didn't really reach out to players like that before. And so, we'll just see how it ends up, because my goodness, it's only going to evolve as we get closer and closer to the CBA deadline.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's also really interesting, as we march towards that October 31st deadline, that this is becoming a very public display of, again, pockets of the conversation that we've been hearing, primarily from the Players Association, that the league has said early on, they don't want to litigate this publicly, but in some ways they've been somewhat forced to. And I think that's strategy coming from the player's perspective. But to me, the thing that I'll say about this is that the strategy seems to have come only after the Players Association and players have tried to talk to the league. I think that's an important thing, because the conversations that Napheesa Collier is talking about happened several months ago. As far as I know, these aren't recent conversations. And so perhaps the situation is that, again, we've said our piece. We have said where we are with this thing. If we're not moving forward, if the conversation isn't moving forward, then is there really much to talk about? Like, let's make sure we're bringing new things to the table in these negotiations, instead of staying stuck in the same mud, so to speak.
Right. And a lot of players we have seen have used words like disrespected, like they don't even feel like they're being heard. And when you're not feeling like you're being heard, sometimes when you go to that table, you have to flip it, instead of sit at it, you got to flip it and do the things that you need to do to be heard. And
Yeah.
so we're definitely going to like I said, pay attention as this emerges, as we get closer to October 31st. And also, we want to hear what you have to say about it, because guess what? The chat is back. So go ahead and drop your comments. If you have anything about the CBA, the game, or whatever, now we're going to be able to interact with you like we love to do. So make sure that you do that right now, because they're back. So yeah, I know. I was kind of bummed when they were disabled, because I was like, we're not going to be able to chat. So
I know.
Yeah. So as
we're working, woohoo!
I know. Come on, Emma, let's go. Always working in the background. So okay, so as we move into the game 3 kind of like preview, what needs to happen? I mean, we talked about this in little ways, but if you were to sum it up and kind of package it up, what needs to happen for Phoenix to win this game 3?
They just have to get they have to get a little more focused overall. I think that there were times where you could tell this was the team that the collective has had less experience together in these kinds of high stress situations than the Aces. And so, I want to see Phoenix really hunker down. I think that has to come from their leaders. I think you need Ka and AT especially to do that. Kalia Copper has a championship, has been there. AT has been there and is looking to get over the hump. You do need something also from Satu. She doesn't have the same WNBA Finals experience that the others have, but she has the international experience and she's an important player here. So Phoenix just needs to settle into their game. I think they need to be able to take care of the ball. There were some errant passes that led to turnovers again in game 2 that were huge. And then I think we continue to say the bench battle is being won by the Aces. So you have to look at players like, again, Sammy Whitcomb. What can Westbeld give you? These are players who have been able to step up throughout the regular season and the playoffs, and they're going to have to do more of the same. And I do wonder, though, Alicia, we've seen both teams try a few different things, including even a zone from the Aces defensively. It seems like, is Phoenix going to figure out what they want to do defensively? Because they're going to have to shut. If they only shut Asia down, then that means they're sending a double, but then they open themselves up perhaps and expose themselves for someone else like a Young or a Gray or a Lloyd, even Dana Evans to get hot. I don't know which is quote unquote better or worse. I don't know for Phoenix in this situation, but they can't have multiple players or just 2 players, right, combined for 60 points. That's going to really hurt them. I think they have to figure out defensively what they want to do and force other players to make some baskets like Smith. Gray had 10, which is pretty solid. Dana Evans only 5, but again, she didn't need to have 21 points tonight. Right. I think that's another thing that Phoenix is going to have to figure out, their defensive schemes.
Defensive schemes for sure. And I think what's so interesting is they're a good defensive team themselves. So when they interact with another team that is so amazing defensively, it has rocked them in different ways. So they definitely have to figure that out. And I think just getting that confident. I haven't seen the spark that they've had in the playoffs. They were playing teams and coming back from 16 down and battling and all this. I haven't seen that battle from them in this series yet that I know that they have. They might be tired now, but I know that they have it. And that's something that I just haven't seen. Right now, Las Vegas is dictating the game. Like they're actually having to adjust to Vegas. And I know that Phoenix has that in them to come out and dictate to them what kind of game we're going to have. And I just have not seen that in these last 2 games for sure. Janice said, hello all. The ball is in AT's hands. She has very inconsistent teammates in Satu, Ka, DB, and Sammy. All right now, AT needs more from at least 3 of them to step up. Absolutely. Definitely something that we've been talking about too, is just how deep in general is Phoenix. Can you show up and have those points and have that impact as well as AT, right? So and start that way too, instead of we've been talking a lot about warming up a lot of these players warming up and getting into the groove. It's like, no, you got to come out ready. You got to
Right.
come out ready for this.
Yeah,
So
100%. I think that's huge. It's something that excuse me, I've been wondering. AT in a half court set is different than AT with a full court of steam, so to speak. And so, on the one hand, you wonder if there's someone else that can facilitate, just so that AT is doing a little more off the ball, and facilitating to open other people up, if that's what you think has to happen. But then it becomes, how much does that impact her offensive game? So it's definitely a give and take, a back and forth. And that's why Nate Tibbetts and his staff are going to have to really go back to the drawing board, knowing that they're, I'm sure, hoping to use the home court to their advantage in a game 3 where they really need to get things going.
yeah, and I think, on the other side, the Aces, I think they just got to keep doing what they're doing. I mean, they're firing on all cylinders, as we've talked about, right at the right time, and they just need to keep that momentum going. I don't really have anything to say of like things that they should change, because they played these last 2 games in an amazing way. They're playing Aces basketball, the basketball that we know them to be able to play, and they're just in rare form right now. And so I wouldn't even say that anything needs to happen on the Aces side, except for being who they have been in these last 2 games. But let's kind of pull out our crystal ball here. Who do you think is a player that is going to have a best game for each team in this game 3 that we're about to watch pretty soon here?
I'm going back to Chelsea Gray. I just feel like if there is someone who can make you feel silly on your own home court, it's Chelsea Gray. I think that she's playing with a level of excitement that is well beyond just game 2 of a 7-game series. I think she's in, you want to talk about warming up. Sis is bubbling over. That's how ready she is.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Chelsea Gray for the Aces. As far as Phoenix, oof, this is interesting, because your gut is to go with either Satu, Ka, or AT, and I don't think you go wrong with any of those. But because I really do think that Whitcomb is dealing with an injury, I'm going to have to say DeWanna Bonner has to step up. You have to get more than 4 points from DeWanna Bonner. She has playoff experience. She's coming off of the bench here for Phoenix. I don't know if how quote unquote healthy she is, like, because who's 100% at this time of the year? But DeWanna Bonner is a player that absolutely can take a game over, and she might need to at least once for Phoenix if they want to get this series to a more competitive level from their perspective, down 2 games already.
Yeah, DeWanna is one of the players, when I'm saying that I don't see that like spark, she's the main one that comes to mind first, unfortunately. And she's the one with, I don't want to say the most experience on the team, but got to be up there as far as the playoff experience on the team. And so I don't know. And especially after the season that she went through and everything that she's been saying about, going through that and where she wants to be and knowing that they could win a championship and everything, I just really expected more out of her. And I would love to see her be the player that does go off for them as well. Because I think she's a definite spark on the team for many, many reasons. And we just haven't been seeing that from her. And I agree. I really want to say Sammy, but she just doesn't look like herself. She doesn't. I want to say her. And I hope that Ka and Satu contribute earlier. That's what I would say. I don't even want to say, I don't want to pick a player, but I just need them to come out the gate swinging. That's what I need to see on that side. And, man, you could pretty much say anybody on the Aces as well.
It's true.
You could. I would love to see Dana go off again. Just her path to where she is today, all the hard work that she has talked about that she put in. She has been so instrumental on that team. I could see her having another monster game. in the way. And so like if I'm looking into the future, that's who I see on the Aces side. But really, to be honest, you could pick pretty much anyone on that team, down to Meg Gustafsson. You could pick them and pretty much, look like you was telling the future, because the
Yeah.
team just they playing.
They're playing really well. And I mean, we talked about bench for Phoenix. I mean, it will be interesting to see, where Becky feels her rotations need to be. How much is it you attack like it's a sprint? And if it becomes a marathon, you adjust, or is it vice versa? I don't know. Because they're in the driver's seat. And so in theory, right, there's some flexibility that Becky has, but sometimes you don't want to play too much with that. You just are like, nope, we go out every game as if this is the game that we need to win our season, because you don't know, which game is going to be the backbreaker, so to speak. But they know they got to get at least two more. So I think I still want the series to go at least 6 games.
Me too.
But that means that Phoenix is going to have to step up in a big way. And the good news is that they can do it. And the series going to Arizona, I think, is going to help with that, or at least that's the hope for sure. So we'll see. The next 2 games will be exciting for sure.
Yeah, we will definitely see, and make sure that you're locked in, because you're going to be right here, or you want to be right here rather, for all of the episodes that we're going to have in reaction to these finals games. So make sure you're locked in. There's going to be a QR code that you can scan so that you have all the direct information to be locked in with us. And, thanks for hanging with us, you guys. Sorry that the chat wasn't, in full for this whole thing, but we promise that it will be next time. So lock in. We will see you right here on the next episode of We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.